Hello, welcome to eazyBI webinar about migrating eazyBI from Atlassian Data Center to cloud. Thank you for joining us today. And as promised, today we walk you through the eazyBI migration process from Atlassian Data Center to cloud. And I'm sorry. Um, yeah. So how to prepare, how the migration works, and the main focus will be on demonstration process. The webinar is mainly for Jira administrators and teams who are preparing to move from data center to cloud, and of course for our solution partners who support them. Before we really start, a quick housekeeping note. Please, for questions and answers, use the Zoom Q&A section. Ask your question during the webinar. We will try to answer them throughout the session and also leave time for the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. The agenda is quite simple: a short overview about migration process, a live migration walkthrough, and Q&A. The session will take about 45 minutes, including questions. Those questions which will be stated in this Q&A section in the written form. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you a few days after the webinar. If you have any questions after the webinar or you need some additional information, as usually, feel free to contact us at support@eazybi.com. Now I will hand over to our eazyBI DevOps engineer, Carlis, who will walk you through the migration process. And our colleague, Yanis from the development, also will support him from our back office. So, yes, Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ilse. I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen, you can see my screen? Yes, Ilse?
Just
I
a
hope
sec.
it's shared.
Yes.
Yes, people are
It
giving me
works.
thumbs up, so it's working. Good with we're not an IT company. So, eazyBI migration from Atlassian Data Center to the cloud. Hello, my name is Carl Svisan. I'm DevOps engineer from the eazyBI. And yeah, today we'll talk a bit about basic blocks of the migration process, how it works, some prerequisites for migration. I'll show you how the migration process works and what you should all look out for, what some gotchas that can happen. Uh, as a quick reminder, there are some resources you can use, like we have this amazing documentation page. Link here, you can see all about the database migration. And I would also suggest to watch on YouTube from our last year's eazyBI Community Days presentation from my colleague Jans Vietums. It's a really great presentation, and it will also give you a little bit more like historical perspective how the all migration process has like come through years and years, and how now it's finalized on migration to cloud. So let's start about the basic blocks of the migration process. Let's start by eazyBI itself. What you should know that there's no considerable difference between eazyBI that you use on your Jira DC instances and eazyBI in cloud. Of course, there are some minor tweaks, some payment options in the cloud that you don't really need on Jira DC, but the core application is the same. So there's like know that you can feel like relaxed that there's like two different applications that are like patched together. No, it's the same application. And also the migration process itself. It also works very similarly as migrating between two data center instances. The process is the same. It uses the same zip archive file with the data. So whether you are migrating to other DC instance, just exporting it or migrating to the cloud, it works the same. Next step, data. That's probably a huge thing for everybody. What is migrated? So the migration process transfers only the metadata. That means accounts, users, report definitions, dashboard definitions, etc. But we do not migrate the report data. So the amount of data that's being migrated is actually relatively small compared to all the data that is needed for the reports. So since we only migrate the metadata, you must do imports from your Cloud Jira after the migration has finished. Either way, you'll have like your accounts, your reports, but there will be no data. So you will need to do that. Uh, Now some prerequisites for migration. What we need to do before we start. In the data center environment, eazyBI has to be updated to the latest version. So it will be compatible, the migrator would be compatible with what is in the cloud. So you must take that into account. You will need to update your eazyBI. Uh, the second point is Jira instance already has to be migrated to cloud. So you start with Jira instance, you migrate that, and only after that we start to migrate the eazyBI itself. Also, all third-party applications already need to be installed in the cloud. So if you have like some reports about, I don't know, X-ray or something, before you migrate eazyBI, you need to install it on the cloud also. And of course, since third-party applications need to be installed, also eazyBI is installed in your cloud instance. We do suggest leaving eazyBI advanced settings empty in the cloud, as the migration process will transfer the advanced settings from your DC instance to the cloud. Again, a very major point is DC instance from eazyBI DC instance. It needs to have access to eazyBI Cloud. And that means not only to your Atlassian Jira instance, but also to eazybi.com. So be careful, you may need to like adjust some firewall or network settings. But yeah, for migration process to work, uh, you will need to access to that. Suggested migration approaches. What we do suggest is, first of all, create a backup for eazyBI. Here's a link about how you should administer it. Uh, the best way to do it is use your database backup tool and just back up that. Also, remember to test your backups. I have experienced also when I thought that I do have a backup, but in the end, yes, I do, but it does not work. So test your backups before you start. Also, the zip file created by Database Migrator, it shouldn't be used as a backup. It does contain all the metadata, but do not use it as a backup. The next big step after you know that your backups are working are test runs. Uh, Migrate your Jira and eazyBI to a test environment in the cloud to just create some test Jira and try that. Uh, you will then be able to see if there's some minor hiccups or some, I don't know, weird quirks that you never thought that could happen. So testing is a key way how to resolve that. And you say preparation is the key. And after that, uh, only after you have no backups, you have your backups, you have done your homework with test runs. Only after that, do a production migration. Because if you have already started with production migration and you understand that some reports or dashboards, there's something wrong with that, uh, you'll need to fix it in the cloud, and that can take a lot of time. Before you start the migration process itself, please document all custom field mappings, as sometimes custom fields change their names, and almost I think all the time they change their ID. So if you have any mappings to specific custom field ID, you'll need to fix that after you have migrated in the cloud. Also, you know, clean up any unused fields, accounts, reports. The less you migrate, the easier it will be. After the migration, review old warnings. They are informal. It doesn't block the migration process itself, but this here is the key to your testing, that you test, you see if there are any warnings, you go check them out, and then understand if you need to know, like, do some stuff on data center side or in cloud side. Update advanced settings with new custom field IDs, they can change. Review and update any account source application import options that may change in the cloud and in your data center. Remember that we need to manually import data into each account so you could see the reports with their data, not just empty shells. And of course, test your reports and dashboards that everything works. One thing needs to be mentioned, that report gadgets in Jira dashboards, also not just report, but also dashboard gadgets in Jira dashboards, they are not migrated automatically. You need to re-add them manually after the migration. And also check your REST API and CQL selects the data sources. So maybe you need to update any authorization or something like that. Okay, we have up to the fun part, demonstration. Let's see now. What I have here is a data center. This lovely Jira with this kind of nice dashboard, and you can see this gadget here that have these t-shirt sizes with medium sizes in different projects. We have on the data center side 4 demonstration projects here. And we also have eazyBI. Here you could see that there are 3 accounts here, Jira account. So with the same chart that you just saw in dashboard. We have a REST API account and a CQL account. We have created a really small just report here for REST API, and CQL also we have just one little small report, so you can see that the data is here and it works. Now on the cloud side, what I have already done is I have this Jira here on the cloud that's already been migrated. You can see there are 4 now. They are called spaces. In a data center, it was called projects. You can see them here. We have this nice dashboard. Currently doesn't have our gadget here, as you can see, but it's the same dashboard. And we have eazyBI on my cloud instance. You can see there's no accounts here. It's empty. If we check advanced settings, oh, I think I need to refresh it. Oh, those live demonstrations. You see the settings are empty. And if we switch back to our data center instance, and let's go to settings, advanced settings. I have added just some available locales here, so you can see that after the migration process, they are migrated to the cloud. So what we need to do now is just choose Database Migrator. There are migration types here, and we will select from this server to cloud. There are 3 additional fields here that we need to fill. Cloud site URL, and let's just take copy from here. I hope I copied it correctly. User email, I'll just use the cloud instances email I have, and API token. Now, API tokens, that's a little bit differently. So let's switch to cloud instance where you can find API tokens. If you go to your profile here on the cloud, just wait a moment and sorry, account settings, not just profile, account settings. We need to switch to security. There is this API tokens. I have already opened it. Let's just check it works because sometimes it asks for two-factor authentication. We're here and we need to create an API token. Let's just call it webinar 2020. Of course, stress, and I can't write 2026, January. Today is 29th. And you can here set the expiration date. Since we are just using it for this webinar, I'll just make it really short, just 1 day. Yes, as you can see, we need to re-verify our, our identity proceed. That's security. Does it work? No. Unfortunately, it asks for two-factor authentication, as I already said. It's just, let's be a moment here for me to do it. I do apologize, but security is important. Let's try again. Webinar 2026 and a short living one. The shorter the better. And yes, hurrah! We have our API token, and we just paste it here and continue. Let's see now. Now you can see if we do a step back, we have 3 accounts here, and our database migrator allows us to choose which accounts we want to migrate. I'll just select all and press migrate. Migration process has started. It takes a while to do it, but not too great. As you can see, it's already done. It is because, I repeat you, that we are only migrating the metadata. So it's not particularly large amount of data we are sending to the cloud here. So if we switch back to our eazyBI here on the cloud, you can see now that we have 3 accounts, and our settings, and in our advanced settings, you can see the available locales have been added. Also some Jira plans that are just from cloud specific. It's already added here too. So we can start with the first account. As I said previously, we need to re-import data here on this instance. So let's go to the source data, and let's try to press import. And I think we will have an error here. Yes, we do have an error here. It says that user does not have permission. Why is that? So, as you may see here, in the cloud instance, I am logged in with my carlis.wissendorf@eazybi.com account. But it's not the same account I am using in my data center instance. Here, I am support admin at eazybi.com. So what you can see now, one of the things where the problem can arise is like using different users in your data center and cloud instances. But the solution is actually quite simple. If my current user has enough privileges, and then we can go here, press, and just do reset authorization. And it says, do you want to reset a Jira application authorization to the current user? So previously it used this support admin user. And now you will use my Carlos Wissendorf's account. So we just press yes, it's all authorized. And let's just press import again. Now, this can take a bit of time because it's full data import from the cloud. And it takes a couple of minutes. This is not particularly large project, so it shouldn't take too much time. But yeah, it's already started. We'll need to wait for a little moment. And yeah, 100 issues. It imports all the issues. And one thing to take into account is that if the Jira data on your data center instance is different than in your cloud instance after the Jira migration, then also in eazyBI, the reports will be a little bit different because they are based on the data that is in the Atlassian cloud. So let's wait a couple of seconds and let's hope everything will be. Yes, we have imported. Now we can switch back to Analyze tab. There are your usual reports and charts here, and let's just go and check our t-shirts chart. And you can see now that, yeah, all the data is here. We can actually go and maybe compare if they look similarly. That's the thing you should do. So it's 23, 28, 23. Yeah, looks the same. It works. There are no errors. That's great. So let's continue with the next account. It does have REST API as a source data. Let's switch to it. It's already authorized. This is a public REST API endpoint. So since it's public, there are no network like restrictions here. We can just press import. It should just a couple of minutes re-import. Oh, it's already done. And we can go to Analyze tab and see devices. Yes, they're here. If we go on our data center instance, go to Analyze and open the devices, yeah, it looks pretty similar. That's great. Of course, now there is our third account, CQL, and with source data, a CQL database. Now we'll have a small problem, which may not be actually that small. If you see where the host is and the database, you'll see that that's not a publicly accessible host name. It's very internal. Actually, in my current case, that's the database of my data center instance. So it's naturally not accessible from the public network. So we can't really fix it on the eazyBI side. So if you have these source data that are very private or on just some specific server, you'll need to make them accessible in some way through network for eazyBI to be able to use it on the cloud. It's just a small thing you need to take into account. What else? Yeah, dashboards. Yeah, we have this dashboard. Let's just refresh it. And on our data center instance, we had this nice, lovely gadget here, but we currently do not have on the cloud. So let's just go and re-edit it here. So let's eazyBI report. Let's press add. Here we can choose the account, choose the chart. Let's configure as we want. And ta-da! Let's press done, and it's here, it's back. So that's also a thing you need to remember, that unfortunately we can't migrate the gadgets automatically. So it is what it is. And you need to plan it before you start your migration process. For the presentation, for the demonstration, I think that's it. We have successfully migrated what we can migrate here. We have these two working accounts here. So let's just switch back here to the presentation. And yeah, let's talk about what to look out for. So things that can happen. I think I previously mentioned custom field IDs and names. They can change during the Jira migration process. So if you have like any references to custom field IDs in advanced settings or JavaScript calculated fields, you'll need to update it after the migration to the new IDs. Uh, Next thing, user-related issues. As you saw, I had different emails addresses between my DC instance and my cloud instance. You can fix that with the authorization, but you need to take that into account that things like that can happen. Also, there are, I think, some times where user keys can change and it can affect some historical data. Field type mismatches, yes, where maybe in the DC instance it was an integer. On the cloud now it's text. Sometimes things just happens like that, and we need to like adjust our reports or imports for that. What else? REST APIs and SQL data sources. As you saw in the demonstration, if they are internally only available, we cannot access it from the cloud. So you'll need to think some way how to transfer it either on the cloud somewhere or something like that if you want to use them in your cloud eazyBI. Template accounts, they do exist in the cloud, but they need to be enabled. And they need to be enabled before you migrate. So when you migrate these accounts, they need to be migrated together with all of the child eazyBI accounts. They shouldn't be separated. As you saw, it is possible to migrate not all accounts, just some or even just one. But in the case of template accounts, you should just migrate all of them together. What else? Third-party specific fields, third-party application specific fields. There can be some differences, like for X-ray, some fields are not available in the cloud that are in a data center, and there's nothing that we from the eazyBI side can do, unfortunately. It's just something you need to take into account and research before you start migration. And as you saw, report gadgets, you need to re-add them again in the new instance, in the cloud instance, in your dashboards. Uh, Did I miss something? No, I did not. Uh, Thank you very much. I think from the presentation, that's about it. I hope it helps you to understand better how this whole migration process works. And I hope it help you, and I hope you all have a successful migration. And now we can just check what's in our question and answers.
Yes, there are quite a lot of questions. And sorry if we won't answer everything, if we won't have time enough. We will definitely answer them in a written form for those who are logged with their names. So you will get your answers in emails if they are not answered here. Yeah, some questions are already answered in by my colleagues. But yeah, Carly, I hope you see the Q&A question box and
Yes, I
yeah,
see them. I think the first one, I already
please
apologize.
read the question because
I'll read the question. Yeah, I'll try to read the uh, people's names who asked these questions, but I do apologize if I misspelled them. Sorry. There's a question from Clara. Is there a list of IP addresses that have to be allowed for eazyBI migration? Could you provide us with a link? Yes, there is. In our documentation page, I think currently under the REST API page, there is a list of all the IP addresses that eazybi.com uses. I think there's also some work in progress page that would have this information specifically for migration also. So maybe there will be some data switching in our documentation, but yes, there is a list. Uh, I don't, currently I don't know them from my heart, but yeah. Uh, the next one, does from Leo, does the eazyBI store on Atlassian platform? If no, what's the process for security assessment requirements review? So the answer for the first part of the question is no, we do not store data on Atlassian platform. We store them in eazybi.com. That's on Google Cloud platform. That's a separate platform. Uh, for security assessments, I think we have a security page on our documentation. Uh, I don't do security assessments on my daily basis, so I'm not quite sure of the process. We have a person for that. What can you do is I think you can just write to our support email and it will be forwarded for our security officer and she'll be able to answer you the best. I just don't want to say
we are
anything
SOC 2
wrongly.
Type 2 certified.
Yes, we are.
And so we have this process already in place for more than a couple of years. So yeah, and you are able to get our audit records and not records but assessments. So just contact us, please. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I see. Actually, there was a question before that from May. In our Jira Data Center, eazyBI was configured to use an MS SQL database, so Microsoft SQL database, as data source, with several reports relying on direct SQL queries and custom scripts in eazyBI advanced settings. Question, what are the supported alternatives or migration approaches for these capabilities in Atlassian government cloud where direct database access is restricted? Additionally, if report data is not supported for migration, what approach will we use to migrate it? Okay, there is additional twist about Atlassian Government Cloud. I must confess, I don't actually know what the restrictions are for Government Cloud on Atlassian side. It's just it's a new thing. I think last year it was introduced. Um, from our side, you can still attach SQL data source, I think. Um, you can try to like bring your database to, I don't know, Azure or somewhere else. Maybe that's appropriate, but it is, I think, an interesting question. Thank you very much, but I don't think I can answer that at the moment. You should just ask it. I think you should write to support@eazyBI.com, and we will give you a more thorough answer to this. Okay, what we have here from Gabriela. In the last migration I did, could it be that custom fields IDs were already updated in advanced settings by the migrator? Ooh, that's a good question. And actually, I don't know the answer to that one. Uh,
Carlos,
yes.
I have an answer from Jans Bajge. He helped with
Oh,
that.
that's great.
Um, during the migration, we tried to identify custom fields by their name and type. All identified custom field IDs are changed automatically by the migration progress process.
Process.
So I
Yeah,
guess this
that's
is the answer.
lovely. Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
didn't
So
know
you
that.
will get all the answers also. We will try to compose all the answers in the follow-up email. So yeah, so you will get everything because I understand this is a quite complex topic and the questions are quite a lot and those answers are not easy. So yeah, so please continue.
Yes, thank you, Jules. Thank you, Janis, for helping me out. Uh, yeah, we have a question from anonymous attendee. How are user permissions and account roles migrated from DC to cloud? Uh, they are as is, I think. You can always check what is migrated and how it looks like if you use just a quick moment. If you go to the eazyBI and go to the Database Migrator, let's try it again, and you can just use this from this server to export file. So you just have the file that is used and you can check them. But I think they are just migrated as is. Maybe my colleagues can help me with that if I'm talking something not
Mm,
quite right.
Yeah, I can try to jump in on that. So we
Thank
are
you.
searching users by emails, and if we find that user in cloud, then all permissions and controls are migrated for that user. And if we don't find, then there will be migration warning that we didn't found the user.
Okay, thank you, Jans. That's a good answer. I hope that helps. We do have a lot of question
That's great.
and
This is a good
yeah,
problem
that
to
that
solve.
is that is really good, and we do feel really good that you are all excited about this and interested in it, and we really want to help you all. Um, Next question from Robert. Did you have any problems with assets attributes which are specially imported from advanced settings? Oh, I think I'll just football this one straight to Jans. Do you know something
Uh,
about the assets? Assets.
I haven't heard any issues with that, but if there are, I actually am not really known with asset import migrations. So yeah, we need to check it.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, but currently, sorry, we uh, we have Yanis, my colleague Yanis. He's really knowledgeable, trust me. But even he can't know anything. It's impossible to know everything. Uh, okay, let's go to the next from Natalia. Could you please indicate where to find the exact differences for integers that become text values in Cloud? So as far as I understand, that's about custom fields that may have changed their data types. So we need to probably go to Jira for that. Am I right, Jans? We need to go and check all the we need to check all the custom fields that we currently have, and there are the data types in here,
My
or
guess
we
is
have.
that Carlis, my
Mhm.
guess is that the question is about the values, not the fields themselves. So it could depend on the original settings, whether decimal separator is comma or point. But I
Yeah.
think it should be fixed already on Jira side, how those values are imported into Jira. So, or whether they are, yeah, maybe that could be clarified what is mean by integers that become text values in cloud.
Well, I think that was from my presentation where I looked into what kind of support questions we had incoming in the past, and there had been some where the data types have changed magically during the Jira migration process.
In that
But this
case, we
is
will not be able to identify those custom fields, and they will need they should be selected back in the import options and reconfigured if needed.
okay. I hope that answered the the question, Natalia. And there's additional question from her. Uh, In addition, do you have any differences described for Zephyr? Are there any? Uh, I know that we have some differences for X-ray, but by heart, I don't know if we have any for Zephyr.
So
We
there
haven't.
are actually I don't think there will be any described because in server and data center and cloud there are almost the same data structure is imported. Only difference is that we will not be able to perform incremental import. It's due to REST API limitations. Each import will be full import, and so it will take longer time to complete it. But otherwise, data structures are the same. Maybe there are some missing dimensions that are not in the Zephyr on cloud. There are, as far as I can recall, there are some of them, but otherwise they are the same.
Okay, thank you, Jan. You are really a fountain of wisdom. Okay, next week's question. What care must be taken for Jira and Confluence migrations where the reports are added onto Confluence via gadgets? So as far as I understand that we have like Jira and Confluence instances, and in Confluence we have in the gadgets from Jira data in here. I think if I understand correctly. Uh, I don't think that we need some like very specific tech care for this. We just need to like recreate those gadgets because we can't migrate them. So after the migration process, I think you'll need to just go and recreate them. Am I right, Jonas? Sounds
At
right to
least
me.
as far I know.
Yes, sounds
We
right.
we, we were trying to find the options how to automatically do it, but not successful yet.
Yeah, that's some restrictions from Atlassian side, actually, not from ours. Yeah, and we have last question from Rodrigo. Custom calculated fields had an option to always calculate in an import. Do you plan to have this also in cloud? Calculate on input. I don't think the process differs on data
Yeah,
center and cloud.
that's at least my knowledge as well. So if there are some cases, please write our support, and then we will
Yeah,
try to figure out what's there missing.
as far as we know, it should work the same as I told previously that the applications in a data center and cloud, they are basically the same. So it should work the same. But if it's not, then yes, please write to us at support@eazyBI.com. I think
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. If you still have one question, you can write it, but we are wrapping up this webinar. Before we go, I remind you that we have recorded this session. We will send the link with the recording in the email in a few days. We will add the presentation because it contained a lot of links, a lot of practical checkboxes to check after the migration. And also, we will try to include questions and answers in this email because it's quite important, I guess. And there are no additional questions. And the very last thing I wanted to share with you is that we, eazyBI, are having our community day again this year at the end of the May, 27, 28, in Riga. And you are all welcome there. Find this information on our webpage, find tickets. And as usually, it will be a 2 days event full with workshops, use cases, stories, fun, and meeting other eazyBI users. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great time, and meet you soon in some events or write emails to us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carlis. Thank you, Yanis.
Yeah, thank you, Ilse. It was lovely. Thank you all.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye.